Hey there, welcome to What We Don't Say, the parts of leadership that don't make it onto LinkedIn. I'm Ken Roden. Here's part 2 of my conversation with Jeff Miller, partner at Door 2.
So I think part of the problem with a lot of feedback courses is that what they do is they teach you how to give feedback, and they try to teach you how to get feedback, like, the wonderful Crucial Conversations training, get more information into that shared pool of knowledge. But the reality is that what most feedback systems don't teach is how to ask for feedback. And so what many people will do is they'll ask for feedback, but what it lands like as, just tell me I'm pretty. How am I doing? And then if I'm going to ask my boss, how am I doing? First of all, they got 80,000 things going on. It's too big of a question. But if I come to you, if you're my boss and I say, Ken, man, I'm really struggling with these 3 things. Can you give me feedback on X, Y, and Z? Or I'm working on executive presence. Can you give me 3 things I can do better? So I try to tell people, ask for feedback, give people a number. And if they're not ready, just come back and circle back detonated.
I agree with you. Feedback is so important. I used to hear that it was a gift and you can choose to receive it or accept it or not. But I think the challenge with thinking about it as a gift is what it was you're saying. You don't ask for gifts. So, I guess it's a little bit changes the dynamic, but 2, it doesn't tee up the importance of the feedback, right? And the intent behind the feedback. A gift can sometimes have good intent. You hope it does, but you don't always know. The other thing you shared just now was around the idea that all these leaders maybe came into positions and they weren't maybe fully ready for, the leadership side of it. And I find that one of the things that becomes especially hard is with imposter syndrome is knowing what success looks like, because when you're a VP or, a C, success, the marker keeps moving. You're done, right? Like you're a sales leader, the new month, you've got a new goal, or, executive marketing or in product, it keeps moving. So success is really hard. I'm curious for you, like, how do you define success at this stage of your life? And maybe how has that changed from different parts of it?
Good question. I mean, I haven't given that a ton of thought, but I think that, I turn 60 next year. And so you start to look at things like success differently. I've never in my whole life defined success by the size of my bank account. That's one.
Yeah.
Is it more important to me now that I'm a little closer to retirement? Probably. But I think that the reality is, I think how I define success is probably more of a feeling state. I do journaling every day. I try to recognize a daily win. I also, like many people out there, I am my worst critic. And so I often don't sit back and take catalog of those things that I've done well. And so I think that in true growth mindset world, it's like to steal something from a book. I think it's called Arete, A-R-E-T-E. It's just getting 1% better every day.
Yeah.
And I think that the reality is that my success in what I do comes in moments. And so, for example, like you'll meet with a client and I'll have a coaching session. And at the end of the coaching conversation, somebody will say, like, I'm more prepared for this meeting. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more empowered, whatever it is. You get these from time to time. That's how I define it. I define it more.
Yeah. I find that success is really hard for people to think about. Again, like this podcast isn't about social media and all of that stuff, but it does feel like there's a lot of pressure to present and look a certain way. And would like to go a little bit deeper on kind of how you think about your own confidence. And the reason why I'm asking is talking to a lot of people now who are in between jobs or that are trying to find a job because they're graduating college. And it's a confidence killer, right? And so I'm just curious from your perspective and maybe your own personal experience, like, how do you think about rebuilding confidence or just focusing on you when things are really hard?
Yeah, love the question. One answer I would give you is I read a book a couple of years ago called The 5 a.m. Club, and Robin Sharma, great book. A couple of stories didn't resonate with me, but one of the things that he talks about is this concept of having a morning routine and starting your day, hence 5 a.m. Club, but starting your day and getting up and really front loading your day so you're able to put sort of fuel into the tank. And so I think that's a huge part of it, which is making sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I think that the reality is around confidence is an interesting space.
Yeah. What I'm struck by is, the way you're talking about a QBR isn't the PowerPoint, it's the practice and doing it. And what I'm hearing you say that I don't think people talk enough about is like the way that work gets done is mostly soft skills. Like, it's the dynamics, it's how you interact, it's how you present yourself, it's how you communicate, it's how you treat your employees, it's how you interact with your CEO, whatever. But it feels like we're not we even call them soft skills. Like we're not taking them as serious as they are. Do you agree with that perspective? Like, are companies talking about it, or why aren't they talking about it?
They're talking about it, but the reality is that the problem is, or the reality and problem often is that they talk about it rather than at the beginning. They talk about it when there's a problem. Oh my God, now we need to invest in communication training. Look, the reality is that I would always say soft skills are the hardest thing to develop. Hard skills, right? If we're talking coding or whatever it is, you can learn that. There's a solid right and there's a wrong. The reason why they're soft is it's not because they're weak. They're soft because they're squishy. They change. Like if I'm going to give you feedback on something, the way I give you feedback on, being a pickleball player is going to be different than how I give you feedback as a host of a podcast.
Yeah.
The reality is there's both feedback. And so I think that's the soft skills, because the softness is, I want to make sure, again, let me preface this point. We've all had a boss where they gave us feedback only because they wanted to feel important. And you never listen to that feedback. But if I'm really giving you feedback, take Kim Scott's work, because I really do care about your career, I care about you as a human being, that's where we're able to lean in. And that's where the softness comes in, because it's not just do this, it's I'm trying to shift behavior, I'm trying to shift attitude, I'm trying to shift perception. And so I need to do that with a degree of nuance. And so I think if they were called nuanced skills rather than soft skills, they'd be a much more hot commodity. But yes, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. It's funny. People have tried to like rename them, right? Like hard skills, durable skill, like, or forget the durable skills, I think they were trying to call it. Like, but it's just none of it's sticking. But like, we need a rebrand of the soft skill, because it's just not cutting it. It's not giving enough credit to these things.
It's never going to go. It's lipstick on a pig. I mean, I think part of the problem, I think, with this, Ken, is that so many people are so like, this is where I'm going to sound like a Gen Xer, which is, I'm a proud Gen Xer. Like these kids today, I mean, the reality is I've got two daughters, 27 and 29. And the reality is we talk about this, and we talk about the difference in giving feedback and why people are just so nervous about it. That's my space, which is when I'm in airport lounges, which I'm in airport lounges more than any human being should be in an airport lounge. I will often ask people questions as we'll just say sitting at the buffet bar. That sounds much better. Sitting at the buffet bar, and I'll ask people just a question. If, you make eye contact, you get that opening. I'm not the guy that just randomly talks to people. And I'm like, hey, best boss, worst boss you've ever had? I'm looking for qualities. And what I find overwhelmingly is that when people say the best boss ever, I didn't particularly love them a lot while I was there, but they actually told me what I needed to hear that other people were afraid to tell me. And so my wish for people, and like, I think if I were to talk to somebody that was graduating college or somebody that was 30, is learn how to give somebody really critical, hard feedback, because it's going to help them, and that you won't be dancing around it, but you can just go and blast them right between the eyes with it. And then at some point, whether it's a second later or an hour later or a year later or 50 years later, they're going to come up to you and give you a hug. The example I will give you, which I did not think about before we were jumping on, was, so I stopped school teaching in 1990, I think, so long time ago. And I got a Facebook message from one of my sixth grade students from 1995, a year ago. I instantly knew who the person was. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what they want. And so I opened up the email, and it was this long sort of a Facebook message that just said, I've thought about you. It's been 30 years, but there was this one moment where I was in a bad place after school. You were rushing to your car, but you stopped and we came back in and you listened to me for an hour. And I just want to let you know that changed my life. And I thought about somebody out there actually cared about me. Now, the reality is, while I get goosebumps telling you that, I never would have known that. And for all the people that are listening, think of all of the people in your life. Think of the fifth grade teacher that you had that said something to you and you never told them.
Yeah.
That is why feedback is a gift.
There's more to this conversation, and we'll continue it next week. Thanks for listening to What We Don't Say.